In this video, we explore the tragic case of a well-known model whose life took a devastating turn after getting into her ex-lover's car in Wenjo, China, a busy business city in Zheng province. Every breeze here smells like money, and fancy fashion shows, car shows, and pricey ad campaigns have made it possible for many young women who want to be famous to walk through golden doors. A lot of recent college graduates are drawn to this lively atmosphere and can't wait to start their careers as models. Lee Ling, a girl born in 1992, was a normal case like this. After graduating from Wenjo University, this young woman from Mishan, Sichuan, fell in love with Wenjo's fast-paced way of life and entrepreneurial spirit. She was determined to take over the fashion industry. Leilu decided right away after her graduation that she wanted to become a professional model. But in WJO, where the business world has hit its peak, modeling is both a way for many young people to reach their goals and a dangerous job that few can predict. Before we continue, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps more people find these important stories and supports the channel in a big way. If you're into true crime and real-life investigations, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. I'd also love to hear where you're watching from. So, drop your city or country in the comments below. It's always amazing to see how far these stories travel and connect us all. Now, let's get into today's case. On December 6, 2015, shocking news shook the modeling community in WJO. Leilu, a model who was 23 years old, had suddenly disappeared without a trace. This girl, who used to have a smile as bright as morning sunshine and a face that people knew, only left 2 seemingly normal social media posts as her last goodbye. The first picture was a quickly taken selfie taken backstage after a commercial show. In the picture, Leilu was wearing a lot of makeup and was beaming with happiness. She was making the win sign without thinking about it. Couldn't grab any red envelopes again. Was written in the second post in the sweet voice of a young girl. What's wrong with my luck? Who would have thought that these 2 normal emotional posts, which were both posted at 7:59 p.m., what if any digital traces did Leilu leave in the virtual world on December 4th before he disappeared from this world for good? When Leilu disappeared, it was like throwing a small rock into a calm lake. It sent shockwaves through the modeling community in Wenjo. This beautiful girl from Sichuan, who was over 5'7" in, had been working toward her goals since her junior year. From faraway Chengdu to thriving Wenjo. From boring university classrooms to glitzy fashion shows, Leilu made her mark and secured her place in the tough world of modeling. She always had a lot going on. In Leilu's life, she did everything from artistic advertising and photo oots to being a model at high-end commercial performances and luxury car shows. She was like a machine that never stopped moving and full of energy. But just when her career was going well and the future looked bright, she disappeared, leaving everyone shocked. Please Help Find Leilu started to show up and quickly spread through WeChat groups in the Wenjo modeling community. These lines of text, which were full of worry and confusion, were quickly shared widely on Weibo and Watt, which led to a flood of social media searches. A scary missing person notice went out to a lot of people. 23-year-old advertising model Leilu had not been seen or heard from in over 72 hours. There was only one hint left, a brown Mazda 6 with the license plate Jiang C8XB67. The last picture of Leilu was taken in this very car by security cameras. But even as the search news spread quickly on social media, some people still held on to a thin thread of hope. No one could believe that the girl who was always happy and bright like morning sunshine could have had bad luck. But the truth became scarier while the whole city was searching. Leilu's phone signal was found near Mount Dalo, a lonely mountain area on the outskirts of Wenjo. The signal stopped working after that, as if it had been swallowed up by the pitch-black night and thick fog. A haunting question arose. Why had Leilu gone to such a remote and empty part of Mount Dalo? And why had that mysterious Mazda led her down a road she might never return from? It was 8 p.m. on December 8th, and the emergency phone at the Luchong District Public Security Bureau in Wenjo rang. It was Sister Fan, Leilu's best friend, calling, and her voice was full of fear and unease. Sister Fan got emotional as she talked about Leilu. After she finished her commercial performance in the afternoon of the 6th, she just disappeared. We were still talking on the phone early that morning, and Leilu said she'd just finished work and was getting ready to go home and rest. But after that, no matter how many times I called, her phone would not connect. As soon as the public security authorities realized how serious the case was, they started the steps for investigating major crimes. In the middle of the night, the most experienced investigators were quickly put together in a specialized task force from the Criminal Investigation Division. A key clue slowly came to light through in-depth talks with Leilu's co-workers and close friends. Cheng Guanki, Leilu's ex-boyfriend, was the last person to pick her up. Guanki, a 26-year-old man, drove an illegal taxi on the streets of Wenjo for a living. The car he used was a brown Mazda 6 with the license plate Jiang C8XB67, which matched the details in the search file exactly. Right away, the police put his name at the top of the list of suspects they would be closely watching. Early in the morning on December 9th, when the investigation team looked through all of the city's video cameras at all of its entry and exit points, they found something shocking. Around early in the morning on December 7th, tracks of Guanki's car were found in the Chashan area of Lehigh District. The car then went straight toward the Mount Dalo mountain range. All the investigating officers in the meeting room were shocked when this information dropped out of the sky like lightning. They knew that Mount Dalo was a dangerous place with twisting roads and few people living there. People have long thought that this place was perfect for criminals who wanted to hide after committing a crime. And even large-scale manhunts had a hard time getting through there. After many hours of tense searching, the police finally found the brown Mazda hidden on a lonely curve near the Tamping area at 2 p.m. As soon as the police opened the trunk, a strong, smelly smell hit them, making everyone take a step back. A horrifying scene appeared in front of their eyes. The body of Leilu had been rolled up and squished into the trunk's small space. A preliminary autopsy by the coroner showed the terrible truth. The victim's chest had 3 deep cuts from a sharp object, and each of them could have been fatal. After forensic experts estimated that Leilu had died about 48 hours before, the task force immediately launched a large-scale manhunt. 3 combat groups were created, each with a mix of criminal investigation officers, special police forces, and neighborhood police working together with K-9 units and drone systems to carry out a thorough search and containment operation. The tracking team looked at surveillance cameras in the area and found that Guanki had gone to a convenience store in Shinmen Village at 3:00 p.m. to buy food. At exactly 4:20 p.m., the man with the messy hair, mud, and dirt on his face and eyes that looked confused and crazy came stumbling out of the thick forest. He was quickly and decisively controlled by the special police team that had been waiting in wait. It was shocking that Guanki was still wearing bloody gauze around his wrists and carrying around half a bottle of sleeping pills in his pants pocket. He was also muttering, "She shouldn't have betrayed me," like he was crazy when he was caught. Witnesses were scared as this seemingly simple arrest scene slowly revealed a disturbing story of criminal love. When the case got a lot of attention, people couldn't help but talk about it. They wanted to know why a strange relationship between a college model with a bright future and an illegal taxi driver from the working class could end in such a tragic way. The story starts in the past on April 17, 2014. It was a normal afternoon and the streets of Yiwu were busy as the sun slowly went down. Leilu, who was only 22 years old at the time, had just finished a commercial performance at a 4S car dealership. She was waiting for a taxi on the sidewalk in high heels, looking a little worried. A somewhat worn-out Mazda pulled up next to her and stopped. The windows slowly rolled down, showing a young face with a smile that tried to look friendly. "Are you going to Wenjo?" she asked. "That's also the direction I'm going. I can take you somewhere." This driver was Guan. He wore a black jacket that was a bit too loose, and he often touched his ear while talking. Leilu felt a little on edge, but when she heard the familiar tune of If Without You playing in the car, her tense face slowly turned into one of comfort. "You also like Karen Mok?" Leilu asked naturally, her tone having lost some of its initial weariness. This was the start of what seemed like a chance meeting. The two talked very well during the trip. Guani seemed very smart when he quickly guessed that Leilu was from Sichuan, and he cleverly brought up Wenjo's specialty snacks to close the gap between them. Although Lee Ling politely turned down his dinner invitation, this meeting was so powerful on Guanki that it was etched in his bones. That night, he couldn't sleep because he couldn't stop thinking about her. When he was questioned by the public security authorities, Guanki told them an unbelievable truth. "That day, I didn't really have a reason to drive for you. I went there just to wait for her." The truth was that he had seen information about Lee Ling's public show online 3 days before. So, that this chance meeting would happen, he put on a new shirt on purpose and played "If Without You" over and over on his phone all afternoon, waiting for the right time. For the next 2 months, Guanki pursued Lee Ling with almost fanatical determination. He did everything he could to find out when she was performing, and then carefully planned encounters that seemed to happen by chance. The most extreme thing he did was wait in front of a shopping center on the outskirts of Wenjo for 3 hours straight, just waiting for Lee Ling to finish her performance so he could show up out of the blue and offer to drive her home, saying he was going the same way. When Guanki heard that Lee Ling was going to be in an event more than 18 miles from Wenjo, he didn't think twice about going there hours early to wait. When the performance was over, he suddenly showed up and asked Lee Ling and her friends to go eat and drink. This exchange was a big turning point that sped up the growth of their relationship. Finally, after a lot of hard work, Guanki won Lee Ling's heart. After the 2015 Chinese New Year holiday, Lee Ling finally let Guanki know how she felt. But from the very beginning, this relationship had the makings of a secret crisis. While they were dating, Guanki did everything she could to keep up a perfect image in Lee Ling's eyes. He was even ready to borrow money and gamble to have enough money to feed his ego and show that he was kind. When he told the police what he was really doing, Guanki told them the sad truth. "I knew she looked down on me." He had to borrow tens of thousands of yuan through online lending apps in order to keep his relationship with his girlfriend alive. He then used the money to buy expensive handbags and jewelry for Lee Ling. What was even scarier was that Guanki slowly started gambling because he thought that one day he would win big and become rich overnight, making him truly worthy of his beautiful model girlfriend. In April 2015, Lee Ling's mother came from their hometown to Wenjo to visit her daughter. Guanki stepped up and offered to be her host. He saw this as a sign that Lee Ling's family accepted and respected him, so he took great care of her and made sure she had a safe ride. But when police asked Lee Ling's mother about the connection, she said that her daughter had never told her about it. Instead, she had just introduced Guanki as a normal friend and driver associate. Lee Ling graduated from WJO University in July 2015, which was a big turning point in her life. Along with her degree, her modeling career started a whole new chapter. She went from being a shy student to a talented model that many high-end brands are actively seeking. Lee Ling's name was on the VIP lists for fashion shows for high-end brands, world-class supercar launches, and high-end business events. Her work schedule got so full that there was no time to relax, and the places she went to kept getting better. It was interesting that every time she went to an event, the organizers sent a fancy Mercedes-Benz, a high-end BMW, or even a $1 million supercar to pick her up in a professional and polite way. This scene was very different from Guanki's old, worn-out, illegal taxi. This growing gap slowly shook Guanki's mind and made him lose his balance. Through in-depth questioning, the public security authorities learned that he often had to wait outside of events for hours on end alone and in pain, only to helplessly watch Lee Ling get into other luxurious supercars and drive off. During those long nights, the young man's anger and sense of inferiority took over his mind. Guanki often bought strong liquor to drink alone in his dark room, and while he was drunk, he sent messages to Lee Ling all the time to let out all the anger and dissatisfaction that was building up inside him. Sensing this bad change, Lee Ling started avoiding meetings with Guanki on purpose. Sometimes she even gave him false information about performance locations to avoid being watched. This made Guanki even more suspicious, so he started being too controlling by checking her phone and keeping an eye on all of Lee Ling's activities. As their fights got worse, the sweet memories of the past slowly faded away like smoke. During the 2015 National Day holiday, Guanki carefully planned a romantic island trip to save the relationship that was about to fall apart. Under the clear blue sky and vast ocean, he had brought Leilu fresh flowers and thoughtful gifts. But all she did was act cold and distant, making the crack in their relationship even bigger. This trip not only didn't fix the problem, it made Leilu even more determined to end everything. At the end of October, Leilu looked Guanki straight in the eyes at a quiet cafe in Wenjo and said, "We were never really boyfriend and girlfriend from beginning to end." These words were like sharp knives, severing Guanki's last shred of hope. He stood up out of the blue and slapped Leilu hard in the face right in front of everyone in the cafe. The sound of the slap was so loud that it scared everyone. The fight was the last straw that ended their relationship for good. After the painful breakup, Guanki became obsessed to the point of going crazy. On a cold, rainy November night, he hid in a dark alley across from Leilu's workplace and watched her like a wolf. When he saw Leilu getting into a brand-new fancy BMW 7 Series with a big smile on her face, it was like a knife went straight through his heart. What really broke Guanki's heart was seeing a middle-aged man in a suit helping Leilu fix her hair in a caring and natural way. That private moment hit him like lightning, and he felt like his whole world fell apart. Early in the morning on December 6th, Guanki, whose mental health was fragile, wrote on his personal Facebook page, "Some people who don't know how to cherish when they're alive shouldn't hope to escape forever." Soon after, in the afternoon of the same day, he started carrying out a carefully thought-out plan for the last chance meeting. On December 6th, after Leilu finished performing in Ying at 5 p.m., Guanki used the fact that he was going the same way to get Leilu and a friend named Zhou Yuan to get in his car. During the first part of the trip toward the city center, things were pretty normal in the car. When they got to the familiar spot, Yuan got out and went home as usual. But right after that, something scary happened. Then Guanki slammed on the gas and the central lock button for all the doors. The car then went straight toward the high economic development zone. Unu, who had just gotten out of the car minutes before, had no idea that her friend, who was still sleeping soundly in it at the time, was being led to death. As the sun went down, this tragedy reached its darkest point. At 8:50 p.m., Guanki booked a room at a cheap hotel in the high economic development zone and forced Leilu to come in with him. The room was stifling and crowded, and Leilu resisted desperately until Guanki let down his guard and quickly left the room. It was a great chance to get away, but it only lasted a few minutes. Guanki quickly caught up with Leilu and forced her back into the car. The car kept racing into the darkness, going deep into the winding roads of Mount Dalo. Leilu's cries of desperation could be heard through the forest as the car finally stopped on a dangerous mountain road next to a high cliff. "Please, I beg you, let me go home." But Guanki had lost all sense by this point. At exactly 9:40 p.m. in the pale, cold moonlight, Guanki pulled out the fruit knife he had prepared ahead of time and, in his rage, stabbed the girl he used to love deeply several times. The coroner's autopsy report showed that Leilu's chest and neck wounds were several centimes deep. Each stab was done with great cruelty and a deep hate. What was most scary was that Guanki seemed incredibly calm after committing such a horrible crime. He put Leilu's body in the trunk and drove home like nothing had happened. He was able to eat breakfast with his parents the next morning and talk about the weather or random things that happened in the neighborhood. The most scary thing about this case was how different the behavior was from the night before, when they were violent, to the next day, when they were normal and acted like nothing happened. Early in the morning of December 8th, Guanki, feeling hopeless, drove his brown Mazda back to the Mount Dalo area. There, near the crime scene, he took a whole bottle of sleeping pills with the aim of ending his own life. But fate seemed to be playing a joke on him. He had been taking sleeping pills for a long time, so his body had become resistant to them. Suddenly, Guanki woke up from his coma, and that's when the arrest happened. While police were searching for a lot of people at Mount Dalo, Guanki was slowly going down the mountain. He was caught and arrested right away because he was mentally confused and his steps were stumbling. Everyone is filled with choking horror when they think about this twisted emotional relationship through the eyes of people who were there. The way Guanki controlled Leilu had gone beyond all normal limits and turned into a sick obsession. Not only did he demand that Leilu always share her real-time location on her phone, but he also often showed up at Leilu's workplace out of the blue to check on her in a scary way. A friend in the industry shared a painful memory. When Leilu wore a beautiful evening dress that the event organizers had made for her, Guanki screamed like a crazy person, dressing so revealing. "Who are you trying to seduce? Don't you know about shame?" Friends in the modeling world can still vividly remember the picture of Leilu, who was by herself backstage, wiping away tears in silence while still proudly walking the runway and putting on a great show. For her close friend Yuan, Leilu was always a strong girl who worked hard to reach her goals. She would often say in a hopeful tone, "I'll work hard for a few more years, and when I save enough money, I'll fly to Paris to study and get better." The day the crime happened, Yuan would never forget seeing Leilu's face as she slept soundly in the car. Her long eyelashes still had pieces of fake eyelashes that had fallen off after the show. Yuan choked up as she talked about it. "At that time, I just thought I wanted to let her sleep a little longer," she said. Leaving Leilu in the car instead of waking her up was the kind thing Yuan regretted and blamed herself for the most in her life. The saddest thing about the whole case was that Guanki could stay incredibly calm while making up complicated lies, while Leilu's family was looking everywhere in a panic. He sent Leilu's brother a message on WeChat that said, "We're on the mountain watching the sunrise. The phone signal isn't very stable here." He also carefully attached a picture of the two of them from before. But the results of the forensic probe showed that Leilu's body was curled up in the cold trunk at the very same time that Guanki was sending these fake messages. Even more upsetting was the fact that Guanki's blood and flesh were still under her nails. This was clear proof that Leilu had fought so hard that she had died in the scariest moments of her life. There is a strange and thought-provoking thing about Leilu's relationship that makes you think. All of her friends knew about it and thought it was normal, but her mother, who was closest to her, had never heard her daughter talk about it. During the interrogations, Guanki kept bringing up a detail that hurt him a lot. Leilu had denied being his boyfriend many times in public, which made him feel badly insulted and ashamed. Where did these two people really put this connection in their hearts? When Leilu suddenly left, the answer to this question was buried forever and could never be fully found again. Of course, if we look at how each person grew up and what their life was like before they met, we can see that this relationship was full of problems and contradictions from the start. Leilu, a 23-year-old woman who had just graduated from Wenjo University, was in the best shape of her life. She had a solid education and a bright future in her work. Guanki, on the other hand, was 26 years old and had only a high school diploma. He was jobless and drove an illegal taxi for a living. He and his parents lived in old, crowded apartments. Especially worrying was that Guanki was shy and quiet, but he was very vain. He spent a lot of time playing video games and gambling online, and he wouldn't hesitate to fake work papers just to look good in public. In every way, these two people were too different from their family background and level of schooling to their life values. This imbalance had been there from the start and had quietly set the stage for the terrible tragedy that happened. Finally, in December 2015, Guanki was given the death penalty with a 2-year pardon. In this sad case, Guanki must naturally take full legal responsibility for the horrible crime he did. But Leilu's story is also a lesson to all of us. Setting clear limits in love is not a sign of coldness. It's a smart way to keep yourself safe because real love can only be built on respect and understanding for each other, never on control and possession. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please take a moment to like the video, subscribe for more true crime content, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. I'd also love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay safe and I'll see you in the next one.